All right, this is the Feast of Purim. This is one of the Lord's memorials. So we have feast days and memorials. This one today is a memorial. Habandi God, if you could get me the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1. So we start from the book of Esther, because that's where you find the Feast of Purim. So it's founded in the book of Esther. So this is a 2-day feast. So we'll be here today and tomorrow, 7 p.m. till 9. So we'll be here Thursday and Friday. This is a 2-day memorial. Also, any questions, we'll get to them. So we're going to start from the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1. That's the school. Yeah, can. Great.
The book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus which resigned from India even unto Ethiopia.
So now he reigned from India to Ethiopia. These was the regions that he ruled over at the time. This is Ahasuerus in history. They call him Xerxes. So Xerxes is Ahasuerus. So you can find him in history. Obviously in history they call him Xerxes. Go ahead.
Over 107 and 20 provinces.
So he reigned over 127 provinces. So he reigned over a large region of places. He reigned from India even unto Ethiopia. So at the time his empire was ruling. Go ahead.
Verse 2. That in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes.
So now he made a feast unto all his princes. So even when you look in history, Xerxes or Ahasuerus was known for partying and all of those things. He made a feast to all his people. Go ahead.
And his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces, being before him.
Go ahead.
When he shewed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days.
So they partied for all this time. Go ahead.
And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people.
So after that, he made a feast unto all the people. So this king was known for partying. Go ahead.
That were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small.
So both great and small, because obviously he ruled over all the provinces. So he had great men that was within those realms, and small men meaning slaves that was in that realm, people that he ruled over, people that was his right hand men, and people that was his slaves. All of them got to celebrate alike. Go ahead.
7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, where were white, green, blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple silver rings, and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver.
So this is just letting you know about his opulence, his riches and so forth. Go ahead.
Upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold.
So they had vessels of gold, meaning cups and so forth of gold. Go ahead.
The vessels being diverse one from another.
And those all different. Go ahead.
And royal wine in abundance.
And gave them the best wine in abundance, meaning they gave them so much wine. Because why? They was known for drinking. So that's why it said they gave them wine in abundance. Go ahead.
According to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law.
And the drinking was according to the law. So this ain't our law, this is their law. The drink was according to the law. Go ahead.
None did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure.
Go ahead.
Also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house.
So here the woman called Vashti, she was the queen. Go ahead.
Which belonged to the king Ahasuerus.
Go ahead.
On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Carcas, the 7 chamberlains, that served in the presence of Asuras the king,
Go ahead.
to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to shew the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
So now they said she was fair to look upon. So the king called her. The king obviously wanted her to come so he could show her off to the men because she was fair to look upon. Go ahead.
Verse 12. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's
And
commandment.
she refused to come at the king's command. Now the king, he's the man that rules over all these things. She refused to come at his command. So he felt disrespected in front of all the men that he ruled over. In his mind, it's like, all right, then if this woman's not listening to me and all these men are seeing it, they're not going to listen to me. So what he done is he said, you know what, she ain't going to be queen no more. So then he started to go look for somebody else. And that's how Esther ended up being picked. Go ahead.
By his chamberlain. Therefore was the king very wroth.
And the king was very rough because he's like, yo, I'm a man that rules over all these realms. And what I tell you to do, you're supposed to do it. She refused to come up. So he was angry about that. So he had to make an example out of her and say, all right, then you ain't going to listen to me. Well, I'll get someone that does. Go ahead.
And his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner towards.
So now the king would have wise men around him. He had men that was wise, that knew the times. So he would go to them and say, all right, then what are you supposed to do now? She's done this. What should I do? Go ahead.
For so was the king's manner towards all that knew law and judgment. And the next day unto him was Karshina, Shathar, Admathar, Tarshish, Merez.
Yeah, you can skip them names. Go to 15.
From verse 15. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law?
So they said, what shall we do unto her according to the law? Just remember, this ain't our law, this is their law. Go ahead.
Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king.
And the commandment of the king was for her to come, but she didn't. So that's why they say she didn't perform the commandment of the king. Go ahead.
By the chamberlains. And Memucan answered before the king and the princess. Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in.
And they said she ain't done wrong to the king only, but to all the princes and to all the people. Because now it's embarrassing if you're the king and you ain't got your woman in order. Guess what will happen? Nobody else's woman will be in order. So imagine this man's the king, and if his woman don't listen to him, then the poor men in his realm, they've got no chance of their woman listening to them. So that's why they was like, yo, she ain't just disrespected you, she's disrespected everybody else. Right. Go ahead.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women.
For this what?
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women.
So it said, this deed of the queen shall come abroad to all women, meaning the way how she disrespected you, other women are going to look at it like, well, she can disrespect you and get away with it, and it's going to come to all women. Now all women are going to disrespect men everywhere. So that's what they was like to him, yo, you can't let her get away with that, because now no woman's going to listen to them, man. Go ahead.
So that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
So that what?
So that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
So that they shall despise their husbands. So these was the wise men telling them this. The same way she didn't listen to you, other women ain't going to listen to them, man. And you see that happens today. Go ahead.
When it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him.
Go ahead.
But she came not.
So he demanded that she must come before him, and she refused to come. Go ahead.
Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him.
Go ahead.
And let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes.
So this was their empire, the Persians and the Medes. Go ahead.
That it be not altered that Vashti come no more before
And
the
then now they said, let the king write a royal law that Vashti comes no more before the king. So they have to do this. Why? Because they understood that, all right, then, if she ain't listening to him and he's the king, we've got no chance of our woman listening to us. So now we need to show these women that if you ain't going to listen, you can be replaced. So they was telling him this, and that's what the wise men in the council said to the king. Go ahead.
And let the king give her royal estate unto another.
And they said, you know what, all right then, well, you don't want to listen, we'll find somebody that will. So there was like, give her a royal estate to somebody else. Because she was the queen, so they said, all right, she's not listening. Well, let's go find the woman that does listen. Go ahead.
That is better than she.
That is what?
That is better than she.
Yes, we're going to go find the woman that's better than her. Go ahead.
And when the king's decree, which he shall make, be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small.
And they said they're going to give their husbands honor. Why? Because then these women will know, all right, then if we don't listen, we can be replaced. They will go find someone better than us. So they said, if you do that, all these women, because they don't want to lose their husbands, they will give their husbands honor and respect. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And the same pleased the king.
And the king was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Because what kings do, kings have a court. So what you'll see kings have a court, and they have their wise men in their court with them that give them advice in certain situations. Go ahead.
Pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house.
So he was telling men, yo, bear rule in your own house. He wrote letters, because now people have seen that display of disrespect. So he wrote letters and sent them into every province. Go ahead.
And that it should be published according to the language of every people.
And that's it, ruled over loads of places. That's why it was in different languages. So when you go back to chapter 1, it lets you know he ruled over like 127 provinces. So he ruled over multiple people in different languages. So that's why they sent letters, different languages, just all over. Go ahead.
I'm going. Chapter 2, verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of the king Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her.
Meaning, once his wrath subsided, once it was appeased, go ahead. He remembered what she had done. Go ahead.
Then said the king's servants that he ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king.
So he said, let there be fair women sought for the king. So now he's about to find his replacement. So he's said to his men, go in all these provinces and go bring all the beautiful women. And he was going to pick one from among them. Go ahead.
And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan.
And virgin back then meant a woman of marriageable age. So when you go into the Bible dictionary, that's what the word virgin there means, a woman of marriageable age. Go ahead.
Unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hege the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them.
So let their things of purification be given them, meaning let them beautify themselves and all of those kind of things. Go ahead. Because what you'll find that is with a king, women would beautify themselves before they go and see the king. They'll do their hair, their makeup, whatever they need to do. So they would extra ointments, perfumes, and all of those kind of things. Go ahead.
Chapter 4, verse 4. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti.
And now he's going to replace Vashti. He said, let the maiden which pleased the king be queen instead of Vashti. He let her know, look, man, you can be replaced. Go ahead.
And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai.
And there's a brother who was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai. I believe was from the tribe of Benjamin, if I'm correct. Go ahead.
The son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamin.
Yeah, so Mordecai was a Benjamite. Go ahead.
Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away.
So now it's letting you know his history of how he was carried away captive at the time of Nebuchadnezzar. Go ahead.
From verse 7. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther,
So-
his uncle's daughter.
So he brought up his uncle's daughter. I believe her parents passed away, so he raised her. Go ahead.
For she had neither father nor mother,
So she lost both her parents, so she was raised by her uncle. Go ahead.
and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
Go ahead.
So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought unto the king's house, to the custody of Hegai, keeper of the women.
Go ahead.
And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things for purification,
So he prepared her to go see the king, gave her things of purification. Go ahead.
with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house, and he preferred her and her maids unto the best palace of the house of the women.
Go ahead.
Esther had not shewed her people nor her kindred.
So she didn't show who she was. She didn't let them know she's an Israelite. She didn't let them know she's a Jew. She
Right.
hid who she was. She had to hide who she was because her uncle told her, because he knows that nobody likes us. So she had to hide her kindred. Go ahead.
For Mordecai had charged her that she should not shew
And they
it.
charged her, look, don't tell them that you're an Israelite, and don't tell them that you're a Jew. Why? Because it's kind of like today. Nobody likes us. So down till this day, we don't even tell people who we are. Go ahead.
And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther
So
did.
Esther was his niece. He was just checking on her. He would walk up and down the courthouse where she was to see how she's doing. Go ahead.
And what should become of her. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go in the king to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months ago, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of purification
So they would purify themselves for a whole year. Go ahead.
accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh,
And this is how to do it. They bathe themselves in oil of myrrh. Go ahead.
and 6 months with sweet
And
odors,
6 months with perfumes and whatnot. Go ahead.
and with other things for purifying of women.
Go ahead.
Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given to her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and in the morrow she returned into the second house of the women,
Go ahead.
to the custody of Shashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name.
Go ahead.
Now, when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, and who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go
Actually,
in.
hold on. I'm gonna skip some of this. Hold on. Yeah, go to verse 17.
Verse 17. And the king loved Esther above all the women.
And the king loved Esther above all the women, and it would, because obviously our women are beautiful, so it makes sense. He preferred her to all the other women. Just think you had women from every other province there. So you would have had women from India, Ethiopia, and everywhere in between. So if you put one of our sisters amongst them, it's clear who he's going to like. So that's why he liked Esther. It went hard for him to choose. It was too easy for him to choose.
Right.
Go ahead.
And she obtained grace and favor in his sight, more than all the virgins.
And out of all the women there, she was the most beautiful one there. She obtained favor in his sight just by her being beautiful, and he looked at her and he took a liking to her straight away. Go ahead.
So that he set the royal crown upon her head.
And straight away put that crown upon her head. He seen her and he was like, yeah, this is the one. Go ahead.
And made her queen instead of Vashti.
And then he made her queen instead of Vashti. Now, what you'll realize is with our nation, we don't have queens, but the reason there's a queen here is because these are the Persians and the Medes. They have queens, whereas we don't. With us, we have princesses. So you won't see in Israel there's a queen unless they're being unrighteous. But you won't see that the Lord's ever set up a queen in the Bible because we don't have them. You have a king and you have princes and princesses. Go ahead.
Verse 18. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and servants.
So now he's feasting again. Because if you look up the Persians and the Medes, they was known for having all these parties, and any chance they could get, they would feast. So now he's feasting. Why? Because he's just chosen new queen. Go ahead.
Even Esther feast, and he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king.
Go ahead.
And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet shewed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did not did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigdan and Teresh, of those which.
So now Mordecai would always be in the king's gate. Why? Because he wanted to go see how Esther was doing. So now when he's there, he sees two of the king's chamberlains. Go ahead.
You kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hand in the king.
And they kept the door, so he could hear them speaking, and they was talking about how they want to kill the king. Go ahead.
Verse 22. And the things was known to Mordecai, who told.
And now it was known to Mordecai. Why? Because Mordecai sat in the king's gate. So Mordecai was listening to their conversation. He was there every day checking on his niece. So obviously he heard them conversating. Go ahead.
Who told it unto Esther the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof.
And now Esther was the wife of the king at the time. So now Mordecai has told her, yo, you see those two men there? Because Mordecai couldn't get to the king because he was low level, but his niece was with the king. So he told her, I heard the two men at the gate saying they're going to kill the king. So she's gone and told the king, there's two of you men are trying to kill you. Go ahead.
In Mordecai's name. And
she told the king in Mordecai's name. So she said, Mordecai said, there's two men trying to kill you. Go ahead.
Verse 23. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out.
So now they done their checks when inquisition was made. So what you'll find that is when somebody tries to kill a king, inquisition is always made. Like when they tried to kill King James did what? Sent men to go and find out if it was true. And he sent his men to go and search Parliament and so forth. And they done their searches. They found all the gunpowder. And the same way this king here, he made inquisition to find out if it was true. Go ahead.
Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree.
And they was both hanged on a tree. Why? Because if you try to kill a king, they call it treason. So they tried to kill the king. And for that, they was both hanged on the tree. Go ahead.
And it was written in the book of Chronicles before the king.
And now Chronicles is like a book of the king. So he had a Chronicles. So they would document all their stuff. So most kings, you can go get their autobiographies. You'll find that most kings have a Chronicles. They have a Chronicles of their life. They have like an order of their life and so forth. Go ahead.
Chapter 3, verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha.
So now Haman was an Edomite. He got a promotion. So he was low level before. Now the king promoted him. He was one of the king's men. He's now received the promotion. Go ahead.
The Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that
and now
were with him.
He became one under the king. He set him above all the princes. Go ahead.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman.
So now Haman was a man which was power hungry, like any white man you come across. He wants you to bow down and worship him and give him respect and all of those kind of things. That's what Haman wanted. Everyone bowed down to him. Go ahead.
for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not.
And now imagine this. Everybody bowed down to him, but this one black man didn't bow down to him. It says he bowed not. Everybody bowed down to him except this black man. Go ahead.
Nor did him reverence. Then the king
no what?
Nor did him reverence.
Nor gave him reverence, man. Meaning Mordecai didn't give him no respect. And in his mind, he's thinking, yo, I'm second in charge. Who's this black man? This black man better give me respect. So that's what Haman's thinking. Haman's thinking, I'm second in charge under the king. How dare you not give me respect? Go ahead.
Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, Why transgresseth thou king's commandment?
And now they're saying, why are you transgressing the king's commandment? Because they're saying, you have to respect the king. They're saying you have to respect the king and follow what the king's laid down. And Mordecai weren't doing that. Mordecai's like, nah, man, I ain't doing that nonsense. I ain't bowing down to you and so forth. Go ahead.
I recall verse 4. Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman.
And now Mordecai didn't listen to them. Remember, Mordecai's a black man who's miserable, is in captivity, is in a land that's not his, is being oppressed, and he ain't apologizing to nobody, man. He ain't bowing down to Haman. And Haman's like, yo, I'm a white man. He needs to respect me. Go ahead.
To see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew.
And Mordecai told them, yo, I'm an Israelite, man. I ain't bowing down to you. Mordecai let them know who he is. Mordecai's let them know, I'm a Jew. I ain't bowing down to you. Go ahead.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him any reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
And now this man was full of wrath. Why? Because one black man didn't bow to him. And what you'll find out with life is white people want us to bow to them every single time. Like there's nothing we can do, and they hate us. When we don't respect them, they can't understand why. They would be mad that everyone else respects them. When that one black man don't respect them, they look at us like, how dare you not respect us?
That's right.
And Haman felt the same way about Mordecai. And Mordecai showed him no respect whatsoever. And that's how it's supposed to be. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And he thought scorn to lay his hands on Mordecai alone, for they had shewed him the people of Mordecai.
And now he wanted to lay his hands on Mordecai, and they showed him the people of Mordecai, meaning they showed him the Israelites. And what you'll find out is we mind our business, and white people still hate us, man. We do nothing wrong, they still hate us and want to harm us and all of those kind of things. Go ahead.
Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
And now imagine this man, because one black man didn't bow to him, now he wants to destroy all the Jews. He wants to destroy all the Israelites. Go ahead.
That were there throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus.
And he wanted to destroy all of them that was throughout Ahasuerus' kingdom. Go ahead.
Even the people of Mordecai.
And the people of Mordecai was the Israelites, which is us. So this is why we're here today, because they wanted to destroy us, but they didn't get to. So we celebrating them being destroyed. Go ahead.
Verse 7. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Purim, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day.
So casting lots is like rolling dice. Go ahead.
And from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto the King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people.
So now he said there's a certain people throughout your kingdom, and their laws are diverse from the laws of other people. Why? Because what you'll find that is the laws that we have in the Bible is diverse from everybody else's laws. There's laws that we have where we can't eat pork, we can't marry outside our race. There's laws that we have that nobody else has.
Right.
And they don't like the fact that we keep the law. So this is why even when you go to the book of Maccabees with the Greeks, they was mad that we was keeping the law also. So they said, you know what? Jews like eat pork. We're going to put pork on the altar, do this. They wanted us to break away from our laws. And that's why till this day, they don't want us to know who we are because they hate the fact that we have laws in the Bible that we keep.
That's right.
They want us to be like them.
That's
So
right.
instead of you having your God, they want you to have their God.
Right.
And they're mad that we have our own God because they know if we serve our God, He will fight for us. Go ahead.
Neither keep they the king's laws.
Neither what?
Neither keep they the king's laws.
And they said, we don't keep the king's laws. Go ahead.
Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
And he goes, it's not for the king's profit to suffer them, which is an old English word for allow them. So he's going to the king to get permission to wipe us out. Go ahead.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
And he goes, if it please the king, let it be written that it may be destroyed. Why? Because these things here, you have to get permission from the king. So he's gone to the king to get this permission. Go ahead.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hand of those that have the charge of the business.
And he was willing to pay people to kill us. That's how bad it was. He was going to pay people to round us up and kill us. Go ahead.
To bring it into the king's treasuries.
Go ahead.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha.
And kings would have a ring with their signature on there. So they would take their ring, they would pull it in some ink, and they would seal the letter. And then you would know, all right, then this is approved by the king because it's got the king's signature on there. And that's why when you see us wear the shield of David, that's David's signature. So a seal is a king's signature. So when you see us with the shield of David, people say it's the star of Moloch and all that nonsense. It's not a star. Star's a ball of gas. It's a shield.
Right.
Go ahead.
Because it's like it's, I was just gonna say for the people
Yeah.
that in class that
Yeah.
don't know what the shield of David is.
Yeah.
It's what the world calls the star of
To
David.
show them your one. So what the brothers got on right there, that's the shield of David right there. So that was David's signature. So when you look in the Hebrew, the da is like an upwards triangle. He's done it 2 times up and down. So it's 2 triangles. Why is it inverted triangle? It's an inverted triangle, and that's how he came up with the signature. Same like with your signature, you probably put your name, but in a fancy way. He done that, and that's what David came up with, and that's David's signature. You can find it. If you look at old ancient Jewish art, you can find it on the side of the temple and so forth. You can find old artifacts of the same thing on the side of the temple. Go ahead.
The Agagite, the Jews' enemy, and the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. They were the king's scribes, called on the 13th day.
And a scribe is someone that documents and write things down. Go ahead.
Called on the 13th day of the first month. And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors that were over the province.
Go ahead.
And to the rulers of every people, of every province.
So now they're writing this to every people, every province, sending this all throughout everywhere Ahasuerus is ruling. Go ahead.
According to the writing thereof. According to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, in the name
So
of
they sent this out in all different languages, all throughout everywhere that he ruled. Go ahead.
in the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring.
And that's sealed with his signature. So now it's been authorized. Now it has approval. Go ahead.
On verse 13. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause perish all Jews.
And it was sent to go through the city and kill all Jews. Go ahead.
All Jews, both young and old, little children.
All Jews, both young and old. So they wanted to kill everybody from the adults to the children. They wanted to kill the elderly and the children down to the babies. And then you'll find that it follows a similar pattern. All throughout history, they've always done the same thing. You look at the Roman Colosseums, they would put babies in the Colosseum with lions and bears and all these things. And that would be sport to them. They would love it. They would all come out to watch these things. So the same thing they tried to do here, they've been doing to us all throughout history. The Greeks would do the same thing. The Romans would do the same thing. All throughout history, they've always tried to kill us in some type of way, old or young. It's even in Deuteronomy, it says the same thing. They're going to be fierce to the old and the young, and that's what they've always done. Go ahead.
Little children and women,
little
in,
children and women. Go ahead.
in one day.
And they wanted to wipe everyone out in one day. And this is why when the Lord punishes them and they die, and what happens, this is why we shouldn't cry for them, because they didn't care about our young and our elderly. They didn't care about none of that. So that's why we shouldn't care about them. Whatever bad happens to them, that's their problem.
That's
Go ahead.
right. Even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar,
Go ahead.
and to take the spoil of them.
So now they had a set day of when they was gonna kill us, when they was gonna kill us and take the spoil. They was gonna take everything that we had after slaughtering us. Go ahead.
For pray, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day.
And they sent this out to all people, so we would have been outnumbered. Go ahead.
The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed.
So perplexed means confused. So the people in the city was confused. They didn't understand what this order's about. Go ahead.
When Mordecai perceived all that work was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth.
So he ripped his clothes. Rent his clothes means he ripped his clothes and put on sackcloth. Because back then, not everyone could readily afford garments like that. So if a man rips his garment, it lets you know he's going through something.
Right.
So he ripped his garment and put ashes on. Go ahead. Down to this day, I believe they still do ash. What is it? Ash Tuesday, Ash Wednesday. Yeah, they still do Ash Wednesday. They put ash on them for Lent still till this day. Go ahead. Back then, the man would put that on them and you would know, all right, he's going through something. Go ahead.
And went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry.
And he cried because now he's seen this letter that all his people are going to be wiped out. Go ahead.
And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
There's a certain dress code for you to go inside the king's gate. Go ahead.
And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews.
And now there's great mourning among the Jews, man, because they wanted to kill us. And by the time we get to the end of the story, once the Lord turned it around on them, we should be having great celebrations, man. The same way we was having great mourning when they was going to kill us, we should have great celebrations when the Lord, what they wanted to do to us, when the Lord does it to them. Right. We should celebrate greatly. Go ahead.
And fasting and weeping and wailing.
And there's fasting and weeping and crying, because now they're in a strange land that's not theirs, first of all. They're going to be outnumbered by all the people. They're crying and weeping. Go ahead.
And many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment and to clothe Mordecai.
So now, because he had ripped his clothes, and she was his niece, and she was living amongst the king, she sent him clothes to cover himself. Go ahead.
And to take away his sackcloth.
So she gave him better clothes, because when you got on sackcloth, it shows you mourning, you're low, and all of those things. So she's like, yo, cheer up. She's sent clothes for him. Go ahead.
But he received it not.
And he didn't receive it not, because he's thinking, nah, man, forget these clothes. We're about to die in soon. Soon, everybody around us is going to turn on us. Go ahead.
Then called Esther for Hatat, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was and why it was. So Hatat went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that happened. So
now Mordecai is breaking it down of everything that happened. Go ahead.
And of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them.
And he's told him everything, like how they're going to pay to destroy his nation and his people. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree.
So these letters was everywhere because they sent them out to every province. So now even Mordecai's got a copy. Imagine being an Israelite reading this, seeing obviously destruction on this letter, and you're seeing that it's signed by the king. Go ahead. That'll be like today. That'll be like you getting a letter from Keir Starmer today, and it says destroy all black people. Imagine they was going to be destroyed now. Now today on the letters it says what, deport black people, and people start panicking. So imagine if they actually wanted to destroy you, you'd look at that and you'd realize, you know what, we can't even fight against the government. This is the government that was going to do this to these people. Go ahead.
That was given at Shushan to destroy them, to shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she would go in unto the request unto the king, to make a supplication unto him, and make
so now hold on, what verse are you at?
Verse 8.
Verse 8. Yeah, go ahead, read that one more time.
To shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king, to make supplication unto him.
So now, because Esther's his niece and she's with the king, he's saying, yo, you need to go make supplication. You need to go speak on our behalf, because if you don't, we're going to be destroyed. So he's telling Esther, you need to go speak to him. You're the closest person to him. Go speak to him and see if this man can spare our lives or whatnot. Go ahead.
And to make request before him for her people.
And to make a request before him for our people. Go ahead.
And Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spoke unto Hathach and gave him commandment unto Mordecai.
Go ahead.
And the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whatsoever, whether man or woman, that shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death.
So now they're saying, now how it works is you can't just go to the king like that. You have to be called. So now she's saying, I can't just go to him like that, because there's a law that if you just turn up like that, you can be put to death. So she's saying, I can't just pull up like that. I have to be called by the king for me to enter in. Go ahead.
Except such to whom the king shall hold the golden scepter.
So the golden scepter is like a long stick. You would come, the king will just point it out like that. Go ahead. If I had to speak to you, the king will point his stick in, and then you'll be allowed to come in. Go ahead.
That he may live. But I have
so
not.
If he points out that, then you may live. But if you don't and you walk straight in, then obviously the king would have you put to death. Because by their law, it's unlawful for you to just pull upon the king like that. Yeah, go ahead. It's kind of like you going to Buckingham Palace and climbing over the gate without getting permission.
Right.
Straight away, they will shoot you for that. So these kings will do the same thing. Before you could get to the king, they don't know if you're coming to attack him. You'll get put to death. So she's saying, I can't just roll upon him like that. Go ahead.
But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
So she ain't seen the king for 30 days because she ain't been called to come in. Go ahead.
And they told Mordecai Esther's words.
What verse are you at?
Verse 12.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape.
And now Mordecai, because his uncle is telling her, yo, you're just thinking about yourself, man. He's saying, what about the rest of us? Don't think that you're going to escape because you're in the king's house. Because now she's with the king. So Mordecai's letting her know, like, yo, don't just think about you. What about the rest of us? She's thinking, I'm in a good position. I'm in the king's house, so I won't die. And Mordecai's letting her know, look, yo, don't think like that.
Right.
Go ahead.
In the king's house more than the Jews.
He's saying, because you're in the king's house, don't think you're better than the rest of us. He's saying, so you're in the king's house, so you're scared to go in, and you're going to leave the rest of us to die. Go ahead.
For it thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall there enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place.
And he knew, this is why he was smart, because he knew, listen, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, the Lord's going to deliver us somehow anyway. And that's how it always works.
That's right.
Like don't ever feel like you're more important than the Lord's plan. Because if the Lord gave you a mission to do something and you don't do it, guess what will happen? The Lord will just make somebody else do it.
Right.
The Lord will rise up someone greater than you to do the same thing that you're supposed to do.
That's right.
And Esther here, she didn't want to go and do it. And Mordecai's letting her know, don't feel like you're special. Maybe the Lord's put you in this position because he knew this day was going to come and it's going to be your job to do something that delivers us.
Right.
And sometimes the Lord puts us in certain positions so we can help our people. But what happens is A lot of our people get rich and start saying things like "F them broke niggas." The Lord ain't made you rich for that reason, man. The Lord ain't made you rich for you to put your people down. No matter how much money you get, you ain't supposed to put your people down, man.
That's right.
You're probably in that position so you can, help your people. Whatever links you've got, you should use your links to help your people. Don't have all them links and keep them to yourself. Maybe the Lord's gave you those links so you can help your people, man. And what you'll find out is all these people that get money and don't help their people, one day they go broke. And when they go broke, guess where they come? Back to the ghetto, man. Back to the ghetto. They come to the same people that they didn't want to help in the beginning. Maybe you was put in that position so you could help your people. Go ahead.
Khan, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed, and who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such as a time as this?
And he goes, how do you know you ain't been put in this position for this time, such for the time as this? In Esther's mind, she's thinking, yeah, I'm in this position, living good, and I'm in the king's house, riches. Nah, man, Mordecai's saying to her, how do you know you ain't been put in this position? Because this time was going to come. Go ahead.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer.
And hold on, let me see. Hold that there. Let me see. Hold on. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. Actually, no. Actually, Karen.
Come, verse 16. Go gather all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me.
And now they said, all right, then go and gather all the Jews, which is in Shushan, and go and fast. Go ahead.
And neither eat nor drink 3 days.
So they fasted for 3 days, and sometimes you have to fast. So they fasted for 3 days because they wanted the Lord to have mercy on them and to spare them and save their life. So they fasted to the Lord and showed the Lord how much they wanted this. Go ahead.
Night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise.
Also my maidens will fast likewise. So the sisters also fasted. Go ahead.
And so will I go it unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So
now she's listened to the words of Mordecai, and she's like, you know what? All right, then I'm going to go into the king, and if I perish, I perish. So she's basically saying, you know what? If I die, I die, but I'm going to do this on behalf of my people. I'm going to put my life on the line for my people. So she was like, if I perish, I perish. Go ahead.
So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
Go ahead.
Chapter 5, verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel.
So now it came on the third day. Esther's put on her royal apparel. The clothes that Ahasuerus gave her, she's put on this royal apparel. Go ahead.
And stood in the inner court of the king.
And now she's going to stand before the king. She stood in the inner court. Go ahead.
Over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house.
So now she's gone in without permission. She's put on her royal apparel. She's made sure she's looked good and she's gone. So she's gone in, hoping she can get mercy from the king. Go ahead.
Over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw her, Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight.
And she obtained favor in his sight because why? She was beautiful to him, man. And she could do no wrong. So he saw her and she obtained favor in his sight. Go ahead.
And the king held out.
Meaning she obtained favor in his sight, meaning he didn't put her to death. So how you know he didn't put her to death is because he holded out the golden scepter. Go ahead.
And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter.
Go ahead.
Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther?
And now he's asking her, well, what are you here for, Queen Esther? He's asking, what would thou meaning? What are you here for? Go ahead.
And what is thy request?
And what is thy request? So if she's come, she's got some type of request. So he's asking her, what's your request? Go ahead.
It shall be given. It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom.
And he thought she was that beautiful that he was like, yo, whatever you want, let me know. It shall be given thee even to half of the kingdom. He's letting her know, you're so beautiful. Whatever you want, you can have everything down to even half of the kingdom. Go ahead.
And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him.
And now Esther saying, let the king and Haman come to this banquet that I have prepared for him. So Haman is the Edomite that wanted to kill all the Jews. And now Esther's preparing a banquet for Haman and the king. So at that banquet, she's going to tell the king what Haman's trying to do. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said.
So now he sent someone to go and get Haman, and haste means to come quick. Go ahead.
So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther hath prepared.
So now Haman and the king came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. So Esther and her maidens would have prepared food and all of those kind of things. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition?
So now they're at the banquet of wine, because as you know, Xerxes, well, Ahasuerus, they call him in the Bible, but this is Xerxes, he liked to drink. So they're at the banquet of wine. Go ahead.
And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom, it shall be performed.
So now he's asking her again, well, what's your petition? Because she was just like, yo, let me prepare a banquet for you and Haman. So now he's asking her again at the banquet of wine. They made it to the banquet. Now he's asking, all right, what's your petition? Go ahead.
Verse 7. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them.
So now she's talking about preparing a banquet. She's not letting him know why it is. She's just saying, let me prepare this banquet for you and Haman. You and Haman come to this banquet. Why? Because the king's the top man. Haman's his second in charge. Go ahead.
And I will do tomorrow as the king hath said.
Go ahead.
Then went Haman forth that day joyful.
And Haman, for Esther liked him, man. He's thinking, wow, she's inviting me to the banquet. So Haman's thinking, yeah, this woman's interested in me. He's all happy and joyful, thinking, yo, she's only invited me and the king. So if you know anything about Haman, he was proud and he put it this way. If Haman lived long enough, he would have definitely tried to overthrow the king. And that's the spirit of all these Edomites, man. The Bible says, don't set them by you.
Right.
Because it says, like iron rusteth, their wickedness is going to come out one day. Go ahead.
And with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's
So imagine Haman's excited, is joyful, he's been invited to a banquet with Esther, and he's saying, yo, only me and the king's invited. He's as happy as could be. And on his way, on his travels, he sees Mordecai in the king's gate as he's leaving the palace. Go ahead.
That he stood not up.
And then he saw Mordecai, but Haman was proud and wanted people to bow down and worship him. And then Mordecai just seen him and looked up at him, and that's about it. And didn't do nothing, didn't bow down to him, didn't reverence him, didn't show him no respect. And Haman wanted this respect. Go ahead.
Nor move for him.
And he didn't move for him. He just treated him like he's not second in charge, treated him like he's nothing. Go ahead.
He was full of indignation.
So now, because one black man didn't respect him, his joyfulness turned into indignation. So Haman's mad, and Haman hates Mordecai, and that's why he wants, because one Jew didn't respect him, he wanted all of them dead. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sat and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife.
So now he's got home, he's refrained himself, because he knows, all right, you know what? All I have to do is wait a little bit, because all of them are going to be dead soon. We're going to, I'm going to pay the money. I'm going to pay the money to wipe all of them out soon. So he refrained himself from going and attacking him. He said, you know what? I'll wait for the king's orders. The kings gave me the pass that we can attack them in a certain amount of days. So now fast forward, he's got home. He's called his wife and his friends, because he's about to tell them how he's been invited to a banquet. Go ahead.
And Haman told them of the glory of his riches.
And Haman told them of the glory of his riches. So he told them everything he's got. This man told them about the horses he's got, the riches or the wealth he's got. Because he's second in charge over all these provinces, which lets you know he's got tons of money coming in. Go ahead.
and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king, having said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king.
And now he's bragging, saying, "Yo, Esther ain't let nobody else in, man." He's saying to his friends, only me, the king, and Esther is gonna be at this banquet. She ain't invited nobody else. Because at this time, they don't know who Esther is. He don't know Esther's nationality. Why? Because Mordecai told her, don't tell nobody your nationality. So if he knew she was a Jew, he would have lost his mind. And Mordecai said, don't tell nobody your nationality. So they didn't know what Esther was. Go ahead.
Unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself, and tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king.
And now he thinks he's on the king's level, saying, I'm invited to this banquet with the king. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
And that's it. He hated black people, man. He's calling him Mordecai the Jew. It's like when people talk about us to say, oh, those black people, and they say it with such disgust. He's saying Jew with such disgust, Mordecai the Jew. Like, why can't you just call him by his name? He's calling him by his nationality, Mordecai the Jew. He's saying, this availeth me nothing as long as Mordecai the Jew is sitting at the king's gate. And he's mad because this one black man didn't want to reverence him, didn't want to show him, didn't want to salute him, didn't want to bow down to him. And he's so mad that this one man not worshiping him is enough for him to be upset. Even though everybody else worships him, he's mad that this one man don't worship him. Go ahead.
From verse 14. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made.
And now he's speaking with his friends, and then his friends said to him, let a gallows be made. A gallows is something you hang someone from. So now he wants to hang this man. Why? Because he didn't want to bow down to him. Because he didn't want to bow down to him, he's saying, you know what? We're going to hang this man. And they would have hung him, and that would have been a public example for everyone. That would have been a sign to everyone. You better bow down when you see Haman. Now, when you look at black men that rebelled against the oppressors in the Caribbean, to make them a public example, they'll put their head on a spike. So they'll put their head on a spike, and that's their head on that spike. Well, so you would see, and you'd be like, all right, I'm not going to rebel. You would see their head, and that would make you say, okay, then, well, I don't want to die how he died. I'm not going to do what he did. And they wanted to hang Mordecai, so everybody could see Mordecai hanged, and everybody would know, all right, then, this is what happens when you don't respect Haman. So they wanted to make him a public example. They was going to hang him so the whole world could see and be like, all right, then, let's not make the mistake that he made. We better reverence Haman, because if you don't, you're going to get hanged on the gallows. So that's why they wanted it 50 cubits high. You measure a cubit by the tip of your middle finger and by the tip of your middle finger and your elbow. So that's how they measure a cubit. Go ahead.
And tomorrow speak thou unto the king.
And now it's saying tomorrow speak unto the king. Listen, they want to bring that day forward. The day that they kill black people, they want to bring that day all the way forward. Go ahead.
That Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet.
And there was like, yo, hang Mordecai and go into the banquet and enjoy yourself, man. There was like, this is what you do. You hang Mordecai and then you go into the banquet. Go ahead.
And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
And it pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. And they made these gallows, and they was going to hang Mordecai on these gallows. So they went to hang Mordecai and kill all the Jews. But we're going to stop there. We're going to do the rest tomorrow. Clap it. We're going to do the rest tomorrow. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer. And we're going to do tomorrow. Coming up here in your album. Yeah.